everyone. My name is Dora.
And I'm Jen. So, welcome to Two Yogis talking about life.
Today we have Kyle with us. Kyle is a professional with nearly 2 decades in emergency services. He understands the demands of discipline, resilience, and navigating stress and trauma. Yoga became his refuge, leading him to India for holistic yoga therapy teacher training. Now a certified iRest teacher and experienced 200 hours RYT, Kyle specializes in trauma-informed yoga and meditation and works with special interest groups like first responders or people experiencing homelessness through his business, Mindful Growth Yoga and Meditation. Blending traditional teachings with modern approaches, he shares his expertise in private sessions, studios, and corporate settings. Beneath his tough exterior, Kyle is approachable, patient, and always ready with dad joke and a great playlist. Welcome, Kyle.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a real honor to be here.
It's so wonderful, how we met at the yoga conference, which all of us have been to, which is wonderful. And I got to experience teachings through your lens and, through your voice. And I believe there was a high school teacher and I think some students who came. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about like maybe some of the community that you work with.
Oh, for sure. So I work primarily, I'm located in Barrie, Ontario. That's about 80 kilometers north of Toronto. And I really started just teaching in traditional yoga studios and more modern yoga studios as well. But I've started to branch out quite a bit more. And like Dora mentioned, I've been working with more vulnerable populations, um, really tapping in more to the trauma-informed aspects of iRest or integrative restoration practice that I think we all share. And you're absolutely right. We met at the Toronto Yoga Conference and show, and as of right now, I don't think there is going to be one in 2025. So, and don't quote me on that, but I don't think they'll pull a conference together in about 6 weeks. I'd be amazed if they do. That being said, I'm just so grateful that I had that opportunity. A friend of mine said, you know, I bet you people would be really interested in what you have to say. Like the iRest teaching is just so interesting. You should just put your name out there and see what happens. And I was equal parts excited and terrified to share with the group. I didn't know if anyone would show up. And Jen, I was so lucky that you volunteered. You put your hand up to be a an assistant in my group. And yeah, I had a real diverse group of people in that session, I think. So, like you said, there was a high school teacher who brought her class, and that was really interesting for me to learn about. Primarily that I didn't know that yoga was a subject in schools. So that was pretty great. They were part of a yoga curriculum with Durham District School Board. And then on top of that, we had people from the military come and just other participants looking to learn a little bit more about iRest. So,
That's amazing. I'm actually really curious about how you found yoga and iRest and going to India for the holistic yoga therapy teacher training. Like, how did you find yoga and how has it helped you and kind of then inspired you to continue to deepen in this area?
no, I think it's something that I found really organically, like many of us. It's not something that I really sought out at first. Um, I was really more of a gym rat. I would like to pump iron and go hit the cardio machines, and I was really one to like push myself to always to strive for more and be bigger, better, faster, stronger. And with that, I just started getting really sore. So they had some fitness yoga at the gym, and I started doing that. And it was one of the only exercises that I could leave feeling like so much better, no matter what state I was in. And I get this feedback all the time, whether I'm tired or hungry or, just feeling like I can't do anything. You never leave a yoga class feeling worse than when you started. And I couldn't say the same thing about, lifting weights or spending an hour on a machine. And yeah, it just from there it started to blossom even more and more. And actually, it was my lovely wife Jen. She bought me a pass at a local studio, Namaste North, and that's actually a place where I still teach to this day here in Barrie. And I just fell in love with the practice, like getting more into traditional yoga, finding out what it was all about, and that inspired me to just take a leave of absence from my day job. My wife was super supportive. I left everybody and everything that I knew for about 6 weeks and traveled to India. And even that was a little bit unexpected for me because I had planned to go to the southern region of India. I'll probably butcher this pronunciation, but the Karla region or Kerala. But there was landslides at the time that displaced 40,000 people. So thought, oh no, I've already committed to this. I've booked the time off. I want to do it. So when there's a will, there's a way. I found another school that was willing to take me around the same time, and I ended up going to Rishikesh, which I think many yoga teachers find themselves in that area, the spiritual capital of the world. But it's also, I think, about 3,000 kilometers. I could be wrong on that distance too, but basically the other side of the country. Um, so again, just leaving everybody and everything that I knew, and people often ask like if I have any wonderful stories, and I do, but a lot of times it was just I was learning how to sit quietly in the mountains, which is quite wonderful in itself.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, coming from Barrie and then, moving all the way to go back to India to, to the heart of all the practices. That's amazing. And then, so you continued your journey and you started to work, I guess, along the way with different groups of people. So what brought you to working with different groups of people, including like homeless youth?
Hmm. Yeah. So for me personally, I had a very interesting upbringing insofar as my father was an abusive alcoholic. He passed away when I was very young. So I lived with my mom, a single mom, and we were displaced quite a bit when I was younger. Um, so I wasn't homeless. I always had a place to go. But there were certainly periods of my life where I was living out of a suitcase and I never knew where I would be sleeping from time to time, and really relied on the kindness of friends and family to really get me through some tough times. And I really attribute introspection. Like at the time, I didn't know what meditation was per se. I wasn't involved in the yoga practice, but I spent a lot of time alone as a kid and sitting with my feelings and my thoughts and learning to parse those out. I'm very cognizant that I could have gone a very different way in life, but I found myself very involved with martial arts. So the discipline that comes with karate training, and that's very similar to like a paramilitary style. You get your uniform, there's a rank and file, there's discipline, there's a code of conduct. And the school I was associated with was quite strict in that regard. So for me, I really appreciated that upbringing for myself. Um, and just to take things a step further, as I grew up, I started out very young. I worked hard to get a job in emergency services. I can't say specifically in what field that I'm in, unfortunately, due to regulations in this area. Uh, However, I started when I was 19 years old in emergency services, and again, quite young. I didn't have the same traditional sort of college or university experience that I think a lot of people have. In fact, I was doing that through night school when I was working night shifts. I would be reading books and studying for tests and um, getting my college education because that was something that was important to me. So all that's to say is that I realized that in my upbringing, in my life, there was so many people and mentors that have given me so much, and even just strangers who extended kindness. Um, And I think that's a reason why I've dedicated myself to work with those sort of special interest groups, whether it is people experiencing homelessness. I'm very excited to be working with cancer patients next month, teaching them iRest with a charity in this local community. I don't know if I can say which one at this point, unfortunately, because that contract's not officially gone through. Um, but like it's that kind of thing that I find is very difficult, but so rewarding. And I really do think it stems back to my own upbringing and trying to set people up for success, maybe have things a little bit easier than I did.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's when we have our own experiences, it just feels much more, we're able to understand in a different place. And for you to be bring this back to the community in this way, I think that they're just so lucky to have someone like you and supporting them in this way. Um,
Yeah. And actually, if I could just add to that too, in my professional life, I really dug in my heels and continued to put everything that I had into my job. It was something that was really important to me to serve others, and in so doing, sometimes we lose a bit of ourselves when we get really focused on our careers. And so that was something else that really drew me to the yoga practice. Was this was a practice that I could really start to focus on what I was feeling. I was putting myself in sort of that felt sense. Um, that we talk a lot about in iRest. And those were sort of senses that I had shut off for a long time. And I observe other people in emergency services, and that really does have a broad definition nowadays. I think post pandemic, like you can include teachers, healthcare workers, so many frontline staff in that, where you just start to get like callous and numb. So I also work with quite a bit with people that work in those sort of fields, healthcare, education, um, just as reminders to like take care of yourself. And it's like the simple and accessible tools that we all learn through iRest.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it is so important, and it's one of the reasons that we love the iRest practice as well. So I'm curious to know, how did you find iRest then?
Mhm. So I just really became addicted to learning more about yoga. Like I had my first teacher training in India, and then I just wanted to learn more and more. And I had a great opportunity to do so, like I think a lot of us did in 2020 when everything sort of shut down and there was a big slowdown. And I just like to keep active. So in my free time, I just started to seek out all sorts of different yoga courses. And one of the first ones I did was Warriors at Ease, which is very closely connected with the iRest community. There's a lot of overlap between the iRest methodology, some of the teachers, the training. So I started with that based on my background in emergency services. And there was quite an emphasis on iRest. So I signed up for an iRest course, the level one. And over the next few years, I was just really hooked.
Wow, that's amazing. So you were able to finish your certification all through that time. Sounds quite quickly.
No, it took several years. I think what they say is when you do all of the IRS from level one straight through your certification, it's hour for hour, about the same as about a master's degree. So it did take me several years. My certification, I think I finished in 2023. So 3 years.
Wonderful. And so now that you shared so much, it's amazing, from things that might have inspired you and um, all the I guess all the experiences you had growing up as well. And it seems like it's all brought together to maybe your heartfelt desire of what you do in life. So do you
Mm.
have any advice maybe for someone, like if there was a younger you perhaps, and now that you know so much about iRest and um, you know working with people who might be homeless or youths, or is there any advice or suggestions, that might help somebody, especially through that iRest lens, speaking to a younger you, perhaps?
Hmm. That's an interesting question. So, like the heartfelt desire, like the wish, the mission. Um, One of the analogies that I like to give is I like to think of, and you may have used this before, is that your intention is like the plant, and the heartfelt desire is its root. And I think sometimes, especially like if I was talking to my younger self, when I was very involved in introspection, I don't think I would have been able to put that into words because I think when you're dealing with a difficult circumstance, and we can even just zoom out a little bit, I think in terms of people who are in any sort of trauma or stressful situations, you can even look at this with an emergency service or frontline worker lens as well, is that you're just focused on what's important now or a win mentality. You're just trying to get through what's in front of you and trying to move ahead. So you don't really have that chance to sort of think like, what is my heartfelt desire? So advice that I have for people sometimes, yeah, that have trouble finding that is you may not be able to put it into words, but what is the feeling associated with your heartfelt desire? If you are thinking of your intention, that plant, and you bring it down to the root, is there something that you just know is there, as if life is pulling you, as a unique expression?
Yeah, the heartfelt desire is one of the most interesting things that I like to talk about, and it's also one of the things that's like I feel it's going to take a lifetime for us to really just continue to get clear, and I think that just starting with that question and then allowing it to unfold, I think it's a beautiful inquiry just to get started on. And I think, over time it's something that I love to just come back to and revisit and just to see how much we see ourselves in the world differently, even as we just continue to maybe come back to the same question.
And
Yeah.
something I find really interesting about the heartfelt desire, and sometimes I get the question is, they say the heartfelt desire doesn't change. Your intention will change, but your heartfelt desire, it stays the same. But my heartfelt desire has changed. And then I'll pose the question, well, did the wording around it change? Or is the theme or the feeling behind it still the same?
Mhm.
Maybe it's changed, maybe it hasn't. But I think quite often it really that theme or the feeling behind it is what it stays consistent. We may apply different labels to it, but that heartfelt desire is ever present.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's beautifully put.
I actually had a
Um,
question. I have a
oh
question
yeah.
about your fun summer things that you do in your background. Since summer is sort of in the trajectory forward, hopefully, um, you had so many fun events. So I was hoping you would share a little bit about, how those came to be, and sort of the inspiration behind them, and how they've been, because you had a whole bunch last year.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just moved to a new property in Barrie, and we call it our backyard oasis. So it's got a lovely, it's almost like a Scandinavian spa. We have like the cold plunge, the hot tub, the pool, um, and it's just a lovely outdoor practice space. And it was just my way to share the practice um, my own way, really, in a lovely setting. It's outside in nature. It's something that. Sorry, I'm gonna. Can we retake that one?
Okay, so okay, let me just
Sorry. So do I just start again?
Jen, do you want to ask the question again? And then,
Or just
or
do you want me
can
to
we
go?
start again?
Sorry,
Okay.
Okay, hold on a second. So okay, let me just okay, so 6:52 to 6:53. Hold on. Okay.
sorry.
No, that's
I wasn't
perfect.
Don't
expecting
show
you to ask me
me.
about
No,
that.
I'm sorry. I was just thinking about that because I remember how fun it was. But okay, so I'll just ask again. So I wanted to ask you about because last year, you were sharing. I saw how you had all so many beautiful outdoor experiences, and I was just wondering what the inspiration behind it was, or what your offerings are for that. So just about around it because it's a wonderful offering.
Yeah, no, thanks for that question. So I just moved into a new property here in Barrie. I call it the Outdoor Oasis, and it really is kind of like a Scandinavian spa where we have the cold plunge, a hot tub, lovely pool, and tons of outdoor practice space. And I've been looking for ways to share iRest, like meditation and yoga, really my own way. And I'm trying to move away a little bit more from studio teaching, the sort of the group settings, and it was just a way that I could offer some unique and creative ways for people to um, really find the practice for themselves in a lovely setting outside in nature. I get so many comments that it's just so lovely to be on your back doing a yoga pose, looking up at the stars, or during the day, sometimes there'll be like a cardinal flying overhead. I had one student say, "I think that was my grandmother coming down to visit." It was just so beautiful. But really, uh, I think at the heart of it, it was my way to build a community, and this taking it back to Rishikesh, my very first teacher training. I remember the head instructor coming into the group, and he said you could teach anybody how to bring people through different shapes. You can teach anybody how to teach people how to breathe, but a real yoga teacher is somebody who builds community, who brings people together. Yoga to join, and that was something that I really wanted to do in my own way, was build community. I'm not a very social person, to be honest. I don't tend to go out very often, but it was also sort of self-serving that I could do these sort of fun activities aligned with my interests and also aligned with helping people with a bit of a social atmosphere too. So all of the events, whether it was a yoga class or meditation, often came with a little bit of socializing after. You can, stay for a dip in the pool. Um, so it's been really great. I've made some friends that I've continued to socialize with after. It's been a way for me to kind of become a little bit more outgoing too, like literally opening my home up to people. Um, and it's been really lovely, and I'm looking forward to doing it again this summer coming. So in terms of different offerings, done floating sound bowl meditations with crystal sound bowls. And last year I partnered with my friend Shauna from the yoga yard West Rouge. She's in Toronto, and she would play the sound bowls while I offered a meditation, and people floated in the pool, which was kind of a neat experience. Or I've taught yoga classes with my friend who's a local musician, and he'd be playing guitar, just singing near the bonfire while people are going through their practice. And it's surreal. Like I just felt so fortunate to be able to do it. And in September, we being my wife and I hosted a creative retreat. So with that, there was elements of yoga and meditation and blending creative pursuits into the mindfulness. So we made mala bracelets, and went through sort of the meditative practice of that. And there was a lot of free time too for people to do whatever sort of creative outlets, whether it was journaling or paint by numbers, and incorporating meditation techniques into that. So it was really special, and I feel so fortunate that I'm able to share these experiences with people, because that's really what it's all about, right? Like yoga classes are great, meditation classes are great, but it's experiences that we hold on to, isn't it?
Yeah, that sounds absolutely amazing. Like, does sound like an oasis. I wish maybe the next time when back in Canada, I got to hopefully check it out if it's the right
Yeah,
timing.
absolutely.
Um, I'm also, yeah, I'd love to hear more about your business, Mindful Growth Yoga and Meditation. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Sure. That really is just my business for teaching yoga and meditation. I primarily teach iRest. I offer co-meditation dyads, which I know you've talked a lot about on the program. Seminars to corporate groups, as I mentioned. Um, but yeah, it's primarily just focused on yoga and meditation. And I really don't have a physical location right now. So I'm a bit of a traveling roadshow where I offer things virtually. But that seems to work. I do have a day job where I work full time, so I have to be a little bit selective too. I've made the mistake, or not necessarily mistake, but as the expression goes, burning the candle on both ends, because I just love doing it so much. But I do need to take a step back sometimes and remember to just do nothing and recoup.
Yeah, we all need that. Even as yoga teachers, sometimes we forget that we need to
Yeah.
take care of ourselves too. Um, so where can people find you if they're interested in learning more about what you do and your retreats and your summer oasis?
Yeah, so my website's mindful growth, one word, .ca. And you can find me on Instagram, mindfulgrowth.ca as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Kyle. Such a pleasure having you speak with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much.